Lan Wangji became more and more anxious about this. Even though he remained calm on his face and showed nothing, he went to the library more and more often every time he came back with a lot of books to copy and study, which made Wei Wuxian couldn't bear it. He leaned across the table and persuaded him, "Lan Zhan, I'm fine as I am now. Why don't we just let nature take its course?" Lan Wangji didn't comment on his suggestion, but he never stopped copying the prescription. After Wei Wuxian tried to persuade him a few times, he didn't bother anymore. He couldn't take Lan Wangji's hand and throw the pen away anyway. When he got bored in the silence room, he went to play with Lan Jingyi and the others. After a lot of hard work, he finally persuaded them to go down the mountain to drink wine with him, and then wandered alone until late at night before returning to Cloud Recesses leisurely. They were only about 100 steps away from the mountain gate of Cloud Recesses. Wei Wuxian stopped walking. He lowered his head and looked at the 2 jars of the Emperor's smile in his hand. He didn't know what he thought of, but he suddenly felt happy. He changed his direction and went to the nearby hilltop. He found the wall back then based on his memory soon. He jumped up to a flower tree outside the wall quickly, then stepped on the blue-gray bricks at the top of the wall and poked his head out from behind the wall, as if someone had told him in advance. As soon as Wei Wuxian lowered his eyes, he saw a man standing not far from the wall unexpectedly. His white clothes were floating in the night. Maybe it happened unintentional when they were young, but now Lan Wangji was just waiting for him intentionally. The black rabbit on the wall lifted the wine jar in his hand proudly, shook it, and said with a smile, "Han Guangjun, will you let me drink it now?" Lan Wangji looked up at him and said, "Come down and drink." He was too obedient to the point of being boring. So Wei Wuxian contradicted him deliberately. "Didn't you ask me to throw it away before?" Lan Wangji seemed to shake his head slightly, took a few steps closer to him, and looked up at Wei Wuxian's slightly surprised gaze. He made a gesture of opening his arms in midair and said to him gently, "Wei Ying, come down." Wei Wuxian couldn't tell how he felt in his heart right now. He could only use his fingers to twist the red rope on the wine jar. There seemed to be a force in his body urging him to stand up, and then took a step in the direction of Lan Wangji. Wei Wuxian really jumped down, but not into Lan Wangji's arms. Lan Wangji stepped forward immediately and took him into his arms without fail. As soon as he hugged him, 2 arms of Wei Wuxian had already wrapped around his neck, holding him tightly, and he seemed to be trembling slightly. Lan Wangji didn't say anything, and he stretched out his hand habitually to grab his legs. Wei Wuxian dodged quickly this time, and even let go of his hands. He stood aside and said, "Don't hug me. Too much embarrassing. Don't hug me. You can carry me on your back." Lan Wangji said, "All right." Then he bent down in front of him without saying a word. Wei Wuxian said helplessly, "Lan Zhan, I really can't imagine what has happened in the past few years. Hey, won't your body occupied, right?" But Lan Wangji seemed to have no more patience, and took the initiative to pull his hands and feet, and stood up steadily with him on his back. In the end, he did not forget to answer seriously, "No." Wei Wuxian chuckled. He put his arms around Lan Wangji's shoulders, picked up a strand of hair hanging on his chest with his fingers, and said casually, "Lan Zhan, do you still remember that you came to Yunmeng tonight hunting a while ago? When we met, I even gave you flowers." Lan Wangji said, Wei Wuxian suddenly remembered that this "a while ago" was just a while ago for him, and it must have been a long, long time ago for Lan Zhan, but he still remembers it. His heart felt warm. He swallowed the saliva and then continued, "When I called you to stop, I didn't actually want to tease you. I just remembered what happened when I was in Gusu and wanted to have a chat with you." Lan Wangji said, Wei Wuxian curled his lips, pulled his hair down and said, "If you were as easy to talk to as you are now, no, even if it's half or 30% of what it is now, we can have a good chat." Lan Wangji carried him to the silence room and said calmly, "It's not late to have a chat now." Wei Wuxian chuckled and said, "Actually, there's no need to say it. Didn't we just do it?" Lan Wangji's expression moved slightly, and his eyesight became softer. Wei Wuxian lay on Lan Wangji's back and turned to look in the direction of the wall. He always stood on the wall and looked down, but now, looking from this angle, he could see the green tiles on the top of the wall, as well as the flower branches and moonlight outside the wall. He suddenly felt that he could probably guess how Lan Wangji felt when he saw him standing on the wall. On the way back, Wei Wuxian chatted eloquently, telling Lan Wangji many of the good things he had done when he was in cloud recesses, such as playing flowers and grasses, hunting rabbits, and roasting them on the spot, and making tricks Lan Qiren's lecture notes, secretly throwing the grasshoppers he caught onto Lan Wangji's clothes. These were just trivial matters, but he talked with excitement, and Lan Wangji listened seriously. Maybe it was because Lan Wangji walked slowly. Wei Wuxian never noticed that the distance from the wall to the silence room was so far enough for him to describe everything he remembered in detail. He was quiet for a moment, then tightened his arms around Lan Wangji, rested his head on his shoulder, sighed and said leisurely, "Oh, it's been so long. I really want to see them. Meet the companions who once studied together. Meet Jiang Cheng." Although Wei Wuxian had lost his memory, it was not that he didn't know what happened between him and Jiang Cheng. Rather, this was the main reason why he was depressed in the 2 days after he woke up. After all, if he just found out that he was actually living in cloud recesses and actually had an intimate relationship with Lan Wangji, he would only be shocked and incredulous at best, instead of feeling a sense of powerlessness sinking from his head to the soles of the feet. Lan Wangji had told him that day that Zhang Yanli had been injured and died in a melee that he had forgotten, and Jiang Cheng had completely broken up with him because of this. Although Wei Wuxian had no memory, whether it was his intuition or the feeling of guilt and powerlessness that arose in his body, everything told him that this was indeed the case. What's more, Lan Wangji never lied. Therefore, even though Wei Wuxian said that he wanted to see Jiang Cheng, he knew it was just a casual comment. He still didn't know how to face Jiang Cheng. Although Sect Master Jiang of the Lotus Dock would not come to cloud recesses for no reason, there was one person who would. Jin Ling, who was the only son of Zhang Yanli, and was friends with Lan Jingyi and Lan Zhan. The group of teenagers from the Lan family often invited Jin Ling to go night hunting together. Sometimes they even went with Wei Wuxian. They had been allowed by Lan Wangji and Wei Wuxian these days, so this time they simply decided when to go out themselves. When they reported to Wei Wuxian later, they felt uneasy for the first time. Before that, Wei Wuxian had learned from Lan Jingyi and the others repeatedly that although Jin Ling was somewhat arrogant, he himself had a good relationship with him, and they had gone night hunting together 2 or 3 times before. And now Jin Ling didn't know about Wei Wuxian's amnesia. Everything could remain as usual. Wei Wuxian had always felt guilty for his senior sister's family. Now that he had the opportunity to accompany their children and make up for it, he was naturally very happy. Thinking that Jin Ling, Jin Rulin were not yet born when they last met, but now he could see him who had grown into a teenager. Joy and anticipation soon overcame the uneasiness, and Wei Wuxian became even more happy gradually.